Command Point is sponsored by Crossfire Games. Use code CommandPoint25 at checkout to get 5% off your next purchase. Link in the description. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Command Point. My name's Ryan, and today I am here with your 2025 Adepticon Kill Team Tournament winner, Shane. Shane, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good, Ryan. How about you?
I bet you are. I see in the back there you got a shelf for all your models and stuff now. Look at that.
Yeah, I've had that for a little bit. It's
hmm
mostly there is the stuff that hasn't been touched in multiple years,
Yeah,
but
lots of gray it looks like over there.
a lot of gray. That's why they're over there.
Yep. All right, and
That's my gray shelf.
yeah, and then do you have the new hardware installed? You got those new
Not in
trophies?
here.
Oh,
It's
okay.
in the other room. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
the all four of them.
Yeah, yeah, that's cool. So, like I said, guys, Shane won Adepticon this year again, back to back. This year, you took Felgore Ravagers. So, I guess, how do you want to get into it?
Yeah. So first of all, I want to apologize to everybody for not playing Kroot. I
Yeah.
decided to win Adepticon instead of playing Kroot. It was a vision in I was gifted with a vision where it said you could take two paths. You can either play Kroot at Adepticon or you can win Adepticon. And I took the selfish choice, and I don't regret it. I would not have won Adepticon if I played Kroot. I know I talked a lot about Kroot over the
Yeah.
past couple months,
hmm
and believe me, I tried to make it work. But um, Felgore is like just so great. I just love playing as them. I really like their gameplay. They're so strong, and I just always feel like I'm in control of the game when I play them, and that's just something I really enjoy in tournaments.
Yeah.
It's the worst when you feel like you're on the back foot or like you're being forced to like play the game a certain. I guess you're forced to make certain decisions that are kind of being forced onto you. Whereas with Felgore, you just dictate the pace, and I'll always really enjoy that team for that reason. I played them a lot last edition,
Yeah.
and I don't know if I'm done with them yet. I think I might play them again before they're gone, which we got a while, so
Yeah. They're going to be in rotation for at least
a year and
another
a half.
year after this October, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yes, correct.
All right. So you mentioned that, when you play this team, you always feel like you're in control and that you're dictating the pace of the game. What is it about Felgore Ravagers in this edition of Kill Team that gives you that feeling?
There's just like a level. It's not really anything different from last edition. Mostly, they do play very similar to the way they did last edition, and I loved the way they played last edition. So honestly, I felt like I could go into the team without as much practice, just because I had all that experience from last edition playing them.
Okay.
Um, and I guess it's kind of like I don't know. They're very like you can put yourself in these situations where your opponent might be able to kill your model, but it's going to cost them a lot of resources, probably a decent amount of wounds. Um, and you can kind of dictate the tempo a little bit. Like if you charge something with a Felgore Ravager and you don't even fight, like you just charge pass, they're either going to have to pay 2 AP to fall back and use their action doing that, or activation doing that, or they're going to fight you, take damage, and if they can't double fight, they're going to just frenzy you, and then you might fight later and then do more damage. So it's like it's very rare with Felgore that you lose a piece and it does nothing. Uh, Whereas with other teams, a model can get caught out at any time and be gone, and then it didn't contribute at all to your game. Whereas with Felgore, I feel like I'm always putting my models into positions where if this thing dies, it's at least close enough that I can do something with it. Or if my opponent wants to get rid of this, it's going to be a huge slog, and it's gonna put them kind of like at like an action economy disadvantage just to remove. And I think that's part of it. A lot of people misconstrue that as them being good at kill op. They're actually not very good at kill op because they just get so stuck in that they end up losing a lot of guys. Um, but they are quite good at crit op, and I found they're more than good enough at tac op too. So um, yeah, I don't know. I like the team a lot. They're like very comfortable for me.
Okay, yeah, so it sounds like it's more of like a personal preference, like comfort thing. Also,
Yeah.
with their inbuilt like frenzy mechanic, their army-wide rule basically. Um, that just inherently because of that, this team is going to be able to trade naturally, whether it be fighting your opponent's models and actually killing stuff, or like just like being able to out APL the team. Whereas other teams don't really have that luxury.
Yeah, and it's like honestly, I feel like I'm still not playing them to the maximum potential that they can
Really.
be. Yeah, there's just sometimes I just find myself doing stuff with like the gong or the whip, and I'm like, man, I could be doing like I could be putting these models together in more creative ways that would be really, really hard for people to deal with. But it's just hard to find those opportunities in game.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people don't, I don't think, discover it because the floor for the team is actually quite easy to reach. And it's, you can kind of like Unga Bunga and go 3-1 at a tournament
Yeah.
pretty easily. But I think a lot of the skill of the team comes into like taking them from 3-1 to 4-0 and winning on top tables. And a lot of that comes down to just like understanding your operatives and the most like optimizing the ways to just like grind your opponent down.
Okay.
And you just have so much in the toolkit. It's easy to look at the models like a bunch of 10 wound 4/5 smashers, but like the herd goat, for instance, is actually such a good piece, both offensively and defensively, outside of being a comm specialist, and like stuff like that, and the death knell and the way that you can use the death knell as like a bait piece almost, and also use him as like a way to dominate crit op. Um, it just is they're such a good team. I just really like them. So picking them for this, and I felt like the meta was a lot of people have been saying it's very rock paper scissors, and I agree to some extent.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like in the rock paper scissors game of like elites and elves and I guess Felgore and you know like a dwarf, I guess Hearthkin would fall into that too.
Mm-hmm.
I think that elites lose pretty bad to elves, most elites, and elves I do believe lose pretty bad to Felgore. Um, but like in theory, Felgore lose to elites, but I don't think it's as bad for Felgore in my experience against elites as it is for elites into elves
Right.
or elves into Felgore.
Yeah.
And so I feel like I can overcome that. And I did have to play a decent amount of elites at Adepticon, so it wasn't the scariest elites on my that I was worried about, but elites nonetheless. So
Yeah.
felt okay.
So that's something interesting I think that we can dive into. You mentioned, you played a lot of elites at Adepticon. Um, I don't have this right now in front of me, but do you remember what like roughly the faction breakdown was for this Adepticon singles tournament?
Yeah, it was a lot of elites. So over half of the players at the tournament were playing elites.
Okay.
I know that I mathed that out on Saturday night. Specifically, Phobos. There was 13 Phobos,
Yeah, that's crazy.
um, which is fortunate because that's the elites that I think are least of a problem for Felgore. Just their wounds are really low, so it's kind of easier for us to trade into them.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there was 11 Nemesis Claw, and I didn't play any of them.
Oh, that's a
But that's
lot.
another, yeah, that's another elite matchup that I think Felgore don't hate.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's not a great, it's more of an even matchup, I would say. Um, there was 8 or 9 Rekkas,
Okay.
um, which is, I don't believe Rekkas are a very strong team, but they're not, they're still a little nerve wracking to play against with Felgores just because they can snowball really hard and they can
Mm-hmm.
get to a point where it's like if they have their Rekka points, they're shooting you and they're frenzying you, and there's nothing you can do about it. Um, Surprisingly, very little Angels of Death and very little Legionaries,
Okay.
which are I think those might be the two strongest elite teams. Phobos
Into
in
Felgore
general.
specifically,
Yeah,
or okay,
yeah, into Felgore specifically. I think that I mean, the best elite team is really hard to narrow down.
yeah,
I mean, Phobos are ridiculous, but they do struggle into Felgore. Um, yeah, I don't know. Legionaries are really cracked still. I think people are just tired of them after the nerfs. Warp Coven are in the same boat, and I did
mm-hmm,
play against Warp Coven, and I think
yeah.
they are still, honestly, in hindsight, I think they might still be S tier.
Oh no.
Um, yeah, they're just terrifying. But there was a lot of that. There was only a few Felgore. There wasn't a ton of Felgore representation outside of myself. Me and the other two Felgore players were, we were bonding throughout, sharing our
Yeah,
war stories.
yeah.
It sounded like we all did decent. I think we all went over 50% win rate.
Nice. Okay.
Um, and I'm trying to think what else there was. Outside of that, it was a lot of like, onesie, twosies.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing a decent amount of elves. Not as many elves as I would have expected, but a few Corsairs. I know Brett from Six Sided Legion is playing Corsairs. I saw a decent amount of Blades of Cain. I didn't play any elves though at Adepticon, and I was hoping to play as many elves as possible,
Yeah.
but it just didn't happen. Um, Not a ton in the way of hordes. There was Blaine from Six Sided Legion was playing Exaction Squad, and
Yeah, that
he
was
took
cool.
them. Yeah, he went 4-0 on day one and made top cut. And I played him in the top eight. I'm trying to think of what else there was though. I mean, uh, there was quite a few warp coven, not a ton. A lot of plague marines too. That was the other one. I think
Oh yeah.
there was like 8 or 9 plague marines.
Yeah, so
I
that's
want to
another
say
elite faction to throw in there.
another tough matchup for Felgors too, and I avoided it. Ben from Battle Brothers took Plague Marines, and he just barely, by like a hair, missed out on top cut in his last game
Uh
against Blaine. But he was killing it on the weekend. Also, I played doubles with Ben
yeah.
and won doubles
Mm-hmm.
on Friday.
Are
And we ran
you
a. Oh,
I was gonna ask, are you gonna by chance be going on Kill Team Casuals and talk about doubles with Ben? Because if you guys haven't
I don't know.
discussed that, I think that would be a killer. That would be a killer episode to listen to.
Yeah, Ben, if you're listening, killed some casuals. I'm always happy to come back. Um, but yeah, no, we played um, Legionary and Plague Marines. I was on Legionary and he was Plague Marines. Um, Doubles is a very fun format.
Mm-hmm.
We I guess I'll just little story time. The team that we played, the teams that we played, Legionary and Plague Marines, and our team name was Angels of Blore, which was tribute to a player in the UK scene, Christopher Scott Blore. He was at the last two World Championships, and he tragically he passed away a few months ago. Um, and I had the pleasure of talking to him at the last World Championships and the one before that. And Ben was a pretty good friend of his. They were going out for dinner multiple nights at Worlds. Really awesome guy, great hobbyist. And the teams he took to the last two World Championships were Legionary and Plague Marines. And so we kind of wanted to like do a little dedication. And Ben went to all the trouble of painting up a Legionary and a Plague Marine team that are exactly in the style, very distinct style that Chris made his teams, and that he played at the last two Worlds. So you should go to Ben's painting Instagram, and you'll see those very cool models. They were very Nurgle-fied all over the place, um, and so it was very cool to take first place in that. And we had a really good time and played some really fun games. And doubles, people should play doubles more because it's a
Yeah.
cool format.
Mm-hmm.
In fact,
Absolutely.
I think they're doing doubles now at the U.S. Opens.
Oh, that's
They're having a
really cool. I did not
yeah, I
know
think
that.
all the U.S. Opens are having a day for doubles, which is really sick.
Mm-hmm. Do we want to kind of like take a look? I don't want to like get too deep in the weeds on like each one of your games, but do you want to talk like briefly about each of the games you had to play through in the singles event?
Yeah. So Honestly, after the way doubles went, I was like going in and I was like, damn, I almost want to play Legionary. I had so much fun playing Legionary in doubles. Um, but we went into Saturday and I'm like, all right, we're gonna stick with our plan. We're gonna
Yep.
play Felgore. And my first pairing was against Warp Coven. Um, and This player that was on Warp Coven, he actually placed quite well with Warp Coven at Adepticon last year. I think he took like an 11th or 10th place or something, which for at the time, last edition Warp Coven, that was an accomplishment.
Yeah.
And now they're a very good team. So, and I didn't have a lot of reps in Warp Coven this edition, so I'm like immediately like, oh god, this is going to be tough. And we end up on Volcus, which not a fan of that against Warp Coven, because okay, so the temporal flux token is a basically the way that it works is you you put it on a friendly operative, and at the end of that operative's next activation, if they are wholly within 6 inches of the token, they can basically teleport back to within 1 inch of the token. So what they would do is put their sorcerers on vantage points on Volcus and give them the token, and they would jump down or fly down with the fly guy,
Yep.
um, and attack me, and like whether it's shoot me or charge fight me, um, and then they would with the token teleport back up onto the vantage point. Um, and if they needed to, say they were just outside of 6, they have a firefight play called Capricious Plan, which at the end of their activation they can perform a dash and change their order, and you can use that to dash back within 6 inches of the token and then teleport back, which is crazy broken.
That is, yeah.
Um, and so he did that to me like 2 or 3 times on the second and third turns, and um, it was like I can't. That he's hitting me from so far away and then going back up onto the advantage in his like territory. I'm like, how am I ever going to hit these guys? Like, I'm just a melee team,
Yeah.
so I need to like charge him, and he's up on a building, and he's already far away. And I'm like, the second turn is coming around, goes through, and I'm like, I have confirmed kill is my tech op, and I can't kill anything. He's got 4 Zangors, 4 Rubrics, the sorcerers, and the rubric. Okay, so yeah, he's got 4 Zangors and 3 sorcerers and 1 rubric with the Soul Reaper cannon. So the rubric and the 3 sorcerers were like standing on different Volcus strongholds and like ruins on vantage points, and one by one they would like come down and hit me and then go back up, and I have confirmed kill, and I'm not scoring it at all on turn 2. And I'm like, oh my god, and he has contain, and I'm not even able to get onto his side of the board to deny contain. Um, and I'm like, this is really hard. And then on turn 3, it's still kind of happening, and I was able to get 1 sorcerer on turn 3, and I was able to score that. So I got 2 points from confirmed kill there. But he's going up like 2-1 on crit op, and then he had the 2-0 on attack op on the first turn. And it's just really hard. So I'm basically losing like I have like 3 total, and he has like 6 or 7 now.
Mm-hmm.
Not counting kill op. And on turn 4, he ran a sorcerer down and actually failed to kill a guy, and he didn't have the flux token now on this guy. And I'm like, oh my god, okay, it's a sorcerer I can charge, and um, I'm like, okay. So I noticed that I can set up a blood sense play, and so I charge and I kill that. I kill a different sorcerer, or maybe I kill that one, and then I blood sense and charge and kill a different Zangor. Um, and I get a double kill right there, and I killed 1 sorcerer the turn before, I think it was. All of a sudden, he's got like 5 guys left. Um, and he makes the mistake of tapping his back extraction point, and I've got a not extraction, transmission.
Mm-hmm.
His back transmission point, and he's got 1 Zangor kind of blocking the way a little bit. And so I have one of my Felgores run over and kill that Zangor, and then that frees up the other Felgore to charge back and kill the Zangor that tapped the transmission point. So I kill two more, and then he's down to like two models left.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I charge and kill his last Angor in the middle, and he's just got that one sorcerer standing there. And none of the other transmission points get tapped. So on the last turn, I get the way transmission scores. It's one of the only ones like this. Is you get a point for holding one, and then you get a point for holding more. So I held the one in his back, and I denied his contain on that last turn, and I got two on my tag up because I picked up the confirmed kill. And then all those kills I got on that last turn launched me up like from one on kill op all the way to like five. And I think he only had like three on kill op. And it was like a big, huge points jump, and I ended up winning 15-14. And I spent most of that game just in my head, like thinking it was probably over and that I probably wasn't going to win. I also lost every initiative, which was tough.
Ooh,
And
yeah.
I think the mistake that he made, I think he made a couple mistakes in the last turn, really, which were just like I think he probably could have been a bit more aggressive with what he did with initiative. Like I think he whiffed on one guy and then didn't go. He did something else with his third AP, like he gave somebody like a debuff or something, instead of like using his third AP to attack again or like
Mm-hmm.
make another shooting attack. Um, and then I think the order that he did his back transmission point was a mistake as well. But overall, he played very well for like 95% of that game, and it felt like totally hopeless. And I felt very fortunate that I was able to like kind of squeeze a win out of that game. That felt pretty much impossible for the vast majority of it.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a crazy close result. Especially just to like swing like that at the very end is wild.
Yeah, you see games like that sometimes with the way kill op works because you can have it where like you might hit like two tallies on kill op, especially against an eight model team, which is the configuration that he's running. I actually think eight models is like one of the easiest kill op graphs to like clear and get a good score on. It's like really unforgiving for just like losing what feels like not a lot of models.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Whereas like I feel like the really high tallies, like the 12 and like 14 model teams and the six model teams are really hard for some reason, just with the way it like maths
How
out.
it breaks down, yeah. Cool. Okay, so you get through the hell game.
Yeah.
You get through the hell game round one. Going into round two, what's your matchup there?
So round two, I see that I am playing in a Rekka crew.
Hmm.
And this is a team I'm very familiar with.
Yeah.
And I go over the table and we're on Volcus again. So I'm immediately like, oh, that kind of sucks because Rekkas hate Into the Dark. But I'm like, okay, that's fine. And I think we're playing on like loot or something. Um, and I turns out the opponent that I'm playing is actually somebody I played in pods last year, which is pretty cool. And he's a local, relatively local. You find with Adepticon that there's a big contingent of players that are like kind of in the Midwest,
Yeah.
where like this is their big tournament, and so you don't. It's like faces you don't see at like when I go to Nova or other big events.
Yeah.
And this player is one of them. And he's playing Ruckus, which is very cool. Um, and it's not really a matchup I'm too worried about, but it is like I mentioned, it's elite still, and they can fight twice, and they're for the breakup void damage breakpoints are very favorable against Felgore because they have 5-6 damage. Um, and they can fight twice for a CP, so that's a little nerve wracking. Um, so I think basically what happens in this game is he sets up his squig really nicely in like the corner of a Volcus stronghold facing the middle, and he breaks a hole in the wall with his breakaway so that his squig is like very safe and has like free reign sort of to kind of just like march on through the wall. Um, and it makes it very hard for me to stage in the middle. And it's kind of like very cagey for the first like turn and a half. And you know he's putting a lot of threat on me with the squigs. He's got the other squig posted behind a heavy barricade, so it's definitely uh, it's difficult to work through a little bit. And he didn't take the demolisher, which surprised me. That's the guy who's got the hammer that explodes.
Yeah.
So I was a little surprised to see no Demolisher, but it's like, all right, well, that's fine. He's got two Breakaboys instead, which I actually didn't mind because he could, like, in theory, with if you pair the Breakaboys with the Squigs, you can set them up on certain spots and, like, make a hole in the wall for the Squig so that it can threaten from like a safe spot. Uh, but he did have a crush shot, and the mistake that he ended up making this game that sort of opened up the floodgates was he about midway through turn two. So it kind of started with he had taken the heavy armor with Ruckus, which is where you get an extra wound and you lose an inch of movement. So all his guys were 13 or 15 wounds for the knob. But they're 5-inch move. So I'm faster than them, so I can kind of stage in a way where I can hit them from pretty far and they can't hit me very well.
Okay, yeah.
And he had put his Crusha behind a piece of heavy rubble on like the left side of his board. Um, but it's not really like in a place where he can threaten me very well with only 5-inch movement. Like it's not a terrible staging spot with 6-inch movement, but with 5 it becomes kind of tough. So he had to move dash that guy onto the middle point because he didn't really have much else to do with him. So that guy runs out of the middle point, or I guess it's his back point. I think it technically is. Or no, it is the middle point. He just move dashes him out of the middle, and I had my Mangler inside the Volca stronghold on my side against a door, like in charge range of the middle objective. So I just threw him out there, and I just like mauled his Crusha. Um, I think I brought him down to like no, I think I killed him. Yeah, I'm pretty certain I killed him. Um, and then I after that I paid for the 3-inch charge to get back onto his like boss knob and to like block off where his other squig was. Um, and from there it sort of just gave me free reign to like run down the middle. And his boss knob did end up kind of going crazy and like killing a lot of Felgores just with the servo shot where he or not servo, what is it? Salvo shot
Mm-hmm.
where he can target two different guys. And he's just like killing Felgores like all over the place, but I'm getting a lot of like stuns off with my Toxhorn and my whips going up and stunning. And I'm just like, it ends up being sort of like a grind fest in the middle, but the Felgores come out on top slowly but surely. And I think I end up tabling the Rekka crew. I get max on crit op. I think I had a max score in the second game overall between confirm kill, 6 points on loot, and tabling. So that game
Okay.
went very well for me. The first turn and a half were pretty tricky, but I think the one little mistake was just moving that crush up just a little bit too early.
Yeah, the difference in threat ranges must have been crazy because Felgore. Did you ever wind up using the ploy that gives one of your models like +1 inch to their movement characteristic, or?
Yeah, I think I use that every game because it's free the first time you use it with the brass adornments equipment.
Okay.
So it's really easy to like sit back super far and get a charge off, especially between that and call the attack. So I could like stage really far back, and if I win initiative, I dash the guy up 3 inches, and then he has a 9-inch charge on top of that. So it's like
Okay.
a lot of potential to just like rocket a guy forward and hit like a really vulnerable spot.
Yeah, so you can have a pretty crazy threat range, like once per game.
Yeah, well,
Eh,
more than once per game. We call the attacks every turn,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and the +1-inch movement is a CP after the first time you use it, it's free, and after that, it's one CP.
Right. Okay. Is the model that you're usually like slingshotting up like that?
It changes a lot. Sometimes it's I coming to this tournament, I wanted to try doing that with the Gorehorn more and giving the Gorehorn an AP because he can
Mm-hmm.
fight twice if you comms buff him.
Right.
But it just never really ended up coming through. I like doing it with the Vandal because you comms buff him and then you charge him up. He swings his hammer around, does D3 +1 damage, and then he fights with 5/5 damage. And he can do a lot of work. He can kill almost anything with that profile, that combination. Who's the other one? I mean, sometimes I do it with the Mangler because the double fight. A lot of the time, I want to wait on the Mangler because if he fights an expended operative, he gets that double strike.
Okay.
Um, So yeah, I mean, it really kind of depends on the position and who's in a good spot. I think I probably did it the most with the Vandal. Um, but just in general, it's pretty easy to set that stuff up.
Okay, cool. So you table your Rekka opponent, you max your score. Um, what is your opponent for game three?
So my opponent for game three is Ruckus again.
Oh, okay.
I go into a Rekka player that is 2-0. Very young player. It's always cool to see like a teenager, like a young teenager playing like war games and stuff. It's just like,
hmm
I totally wish I could have been playing like Warhammer when I was younger. But like it's not exactly a cheap hobby, so you kind of need like your parent to like it or something
Yeah.
if you want to play it at a young age. And he was 2-0 with Ruckus, and he told me front and center that all he wants to do is crump.
Okay.
And I knew it was going to be a fun game. Um, so we're on Volcus again. So this is 3 games now on Volcus. This player went super duper aggressive on turn one, and I don't think he had experience into Felgore. So what I had ended up doing, and this was something I did a couple times during the tournament. I think I did it this game where I used the reposition scouting option to move up my Mangler just up the board, like, but barely within 2 inches of the guy that I wanted to call the attack from. So it lets my Mangler start like 5 inches up the board. And on this particular board, he was there was like decent staging for me to do so. He put a Breakaboy on the middle objective on turn one in charge range of my Mangler. Um, and I ended up charging that guy. And then there was also a rocket that was somewhat behind that ended up being in charge range of my Vandal. So I comms buffed the Vandal. I had him charge the Rocket Boy, swing his hammer, fight him. I think I kill him. I either kill him or he lives barely, and then the Mangler just ate the other guy alive. And then next turn, I won initiative, killed that guy that had 2 wounds left, and then blood sensed to have my Mangler charge uh, another guy, another Breakaboy, and a Squig. And I fight the Breakaboy, and I think I kill him. Um, and then there's just like, there's like barely anything left on the board now
Right. Yeah.
for the Ruckus because the one Squig blows up and dies. Another Squig blows up and dies. Um, and then on the left side of the board, I think I got to charge off on another Breakaboy and just like kill that guy too. Um, and he was really burning through CP because he was using Justice Scratch a lot because we had started fighting on turn one. And I ended up tabling on turn three, I think it was when we called the game. And I didn't max on this game. I think I missed out on a crit up point. I can't remember what the mission was, but I missed out on one crit up point and I got 20. But yeah, definitely a another strong victory there.
Okay, so that was your third game on the day, and you played 4 rounds total day one, correct?
Yes.
All right. So what was team number four that you faced off against?
So team number four, I go to the board. It is Volcus once again, and I'm playing against Phobos.
Okay.
And my Phobos opponent is not somebody I've played before, but he's in the his name is JP, and he's in the same region as Orion Wilfong and the Garretts and them.
Okay.
Um, and I have a feeling based on that it's going to be a tough game because there's a lot of good players over there. So the unfortunate thing for him is he told me this like I think before the game that he doesn't have a lot of experience playing into like Felgores. He has like a little bit here and there, but um, this he started playing I think this edition or like late last edition, and there's just not a lot of people playing Felgore in his area right now. Um, and I'm like, all right, cool. And I know that Felgore do quite well into Phobos. It's very hard for Phobos to chew through them. And it's Phobos is probably the team I've played against most this edition. It just feels like everywhere I go, there's somebody playing Phobos.
Right.
And so he makes a pretty aggressive play on turn one. I can't remember the crit op we're on, but he makes a pretty aggressive play on turn one, and he has first of all he had set up razor wire and like light barricades to try and like block off the middle.
Mm-hmm.
And there's one little opening between the razor wire and like his stronghold that I could fit through, and he runs his Incursor Mine Layer up on turn 1 and plants a mine there. I'm like, all right, so I'm not going to go over there. But I think in hindsight this was too aggressive, and we talked about it a little after, because what I did was I put one of my guys in heavy cover, and then I won initiative, and I dashed him out with Call the Attack, right
Mm-hmm.
in front of the razor wire. And when you're right up on the razor wire, it doesn't exactly matter that there's razor wire there because you can just climb over it if you have the movement.
Yeah.
So I just charged over the razor wire after calling the attack, and I fought his mine layer, and I think I just killed him. I think it was I
Okay.
can't remember which operative it was that killed him, but I just killed him. Um, and on the left side, he went very aggressive with his reavers, running them up onto my back ruin and my vantage, like on my vantage point. He's got two reavers up there, and he's chucking stuns at me, just kind of being a nuisance. And he runs up his commsman up on the flank to get a shot on my leader. And I think this was the only shot all game that he got where I wasn't prepared for it. And he ends up not killing my leader, but he does like 8 damage to him.
Mm-hmm.
And he's in charge range now of my Gnarl Scar. My Gnarl Scar just charges and just like mulches this guy because I have brutal, and he ends up not rolling a crit, and I get like 4 hits or 3 hits or something, and I can just hit him 3 times, and he doesn't his damage is 3/4 on his melee,
Mm-hmm.
so I just kill him, and then I think there's his marksman in the back, and I never end up getting his marksman, but the rest of the game is kind of like dedicated to like taking out his two reavers up top. And I think I'm able to kill one of them. And then the other jumps down to shoot me, and he just gets swarmed by a bunch of goats. Um, and there was one other guy. It was Voxbreaker comes out, kind of like trying to threaten the middle point again. And he had stacked one side pretty heavy, so I had a couple guys on the right stronghold on my side charge through the door. The Mangler and the Gorehorn specifically just charged through and just like murder the Voxbreaker. And I ended up I don't know if I got a max score. No, I didn't max because I didn't table him. His marksman was in the back and I never got to him. But I maxed out crit up and tac op, and it was a pretty clean game overall. Um, so I go 4-0 on day one, so I'm pretty happy about that.
Yeah. So what were the attack ops that you wound up taking the most?
So I took confirm kill all but one game this tournament.
Wow. Okay.
It is the best tac op for Felgore. It's really nice because you can kill something and then get killed, but your frenzied Felgore can still control the confirm kill and pick it up.
Okay.
So it's very like synergistic
Yeah.
with confirm kill. I know they have recon. I don't like to plant beacons with Felgores. I know it's like the most popular tac op, but I think 20 APL on a 6-inch moving team is just not enough to plant beacons.
Yeah. And I mean,
Um,
like, yeah, like you said, the confirm kill does naturally synergize with this team because of the frenzy. You run up, kill a
yeah, it's
guy. Who cares if you get shot? Because you're still able to pick up that token and score. It's like
mhm.
it's free. It sounds free to me.
Yeah, I picked up so many confirmed kill tokens with frenzied goats this past weekend. It's just crazy.
Okay.
So that helps, and I hope they don't nerf that because it's like their best tac op by far, and it's not close. If they didn't have that, they would really struggle with tac ops. So I hope they keep that the same at least, and it's quite good against elites for them, which is their scariest matchups.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, no, definitely. There was one game I did not take confirmed kill, and it was actually the first game on day 2. So
Okay. So yeah, leading into that, going into day two, what was round one for you? You made top eight. You're 4-0.
yeah, so the top 8 ended up consisting of 8 different factions, which is sick.
That's very cool.
So me on Felgors, there was uh, Leander Garrett playing because I did not enjoy playing against Warp Coven the one time. Um,
I'm sorry, can you say
there
that
is
one more
a
time? You said Leander was playing Warp Coven?
Warp Coven, yeah.
Okay.
And I was hoping not to play against Warp Coven again. Um, there is a Rekka Crew player in top eight who just squeezed in. JP made top eight with his 3-1 with Phobos. Um, Dylan playing Hearthkin Salvagers had gone 3-1 and gotten in. Um, Jonathan Reynolds playing Wormblade, new addition, same team for him.
Yep.
I think he had gone 4-0. Then you had Adrian Bonvento playing Nemesis Claw, and then Blaine Severson from Six Sided Legion playing Exaction Squad. And I end up getting paired into Blaine on the first round of day two. Um, so Exaction is kind of like a spooky matchup for Felgore,
Yeah,
theoretically.
I think I remember you telling me there was something to do with the like the shields that they have, or
Yeah, so the shield guys, they are four attacks on fours, but they always fight first
yeah,
and they double parry. So if you're a melee team with four attacks on threes, um, that profile is extremely hard for you to kill. And it's an 11 operative team. So it's like, I'm not exactly sure how I'm supposed to kill when five of the 11 guys, who, and the ones that are staged up the most far forward, are a major pain for me to kill. So we end up on Into the Dark, which is my first game on Into the Dark, and he actually puts me on the side that I'm looking, and his back objective is right in front of a door that is like in its own little room near my DZ. And so I'm like, all right, confirmed kill is going to be tough against this team because it's going to be hard killing a lot of guys when almost half of them are really hard to kill. So, but that board side he gave me is really, really friendly for storm objectives. So, with the idea being, I just throw a bunch of goats next to that door, and the next turn I just pour in and I take his back objective, and then I just if I can hold that back objective for the whole game, I'm gonna get 6 points on my attack op, and that is exactly what happened. Um, the shields were very very hard to kill, um, and I had to get a little bit creative, like throwing Tox Bomb at them to do a little chip damage, or having the Vandal swing his hammer around to do a little chip damage. I was throwing cracks at them, doing everything in my power to put them down to like 4 to 5 health, so I can one shot them in melee.
right.
And then if I charge, I only need 3 hits.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so I end up swinging through on that left side and just taking over. And he only had like he had one shield protecting that back area, and like his Malocator and maybe one other operative. So it was very easy for me to get in because other than the shield, the other guys I could melee and kill. The
Yeah.
shield, I just chipped him down and then finished him off. Um, and I hold that back point on the right side. I have a heavy barricade in like the big room in front of the middle objective, and um, I'm like, I've got a light barricade on the objective, and the heavy barricade is like a few inches back, and I've got my Vandal and my Flux Spray over there, and I throw my Flux Spray into the middle objective behind the light barricade, and I know he has Seek Light, but I'm like, well, you and I say out loud, I go, you can only Seek Light one of them, so I run my Vandal up too, and I've got my Vandal and my Flux Spray. Silly thought of me because he runs up and uses his Revelatum with the shot pistol, and he uses the special ammo equipment to give it once per turn Torrent,
Oh,
and then he shoots both of them and
yeah.
frenzies them both.
Mm.
And I'm like, oh my god, that was horrible. I should have just
Yeah.
kept the Vandal back. Forgot that he could get torn. Well, honestly, I knew that he could get torn on the shotguns. I forgot that it worked on the auto pistol or the shot pistol on the Revelatum. Um, so that was terrifying. Uh, Lost two guys on the right side. I've got guys in the middle that are like somewhat threatening, and like I've got my Gorehorn on the door. My shaman is over there as well. My leader ends up pivoting over to sort of threaten the middle room also. Um, And the nice thing about Storm Objectives is that when it works really well because not only am I getting 6 on tack op, but I'm getting the crit op points from his back objective. So I'm at least, I think I end up losing out on crit op, but I go 6 on tack op. We go even on kill op because one of my guys on the 4th turn, I like got a little greedy and I tried to kill a low health shield. And I'm like, as long as I get 3 hits, and I have violent temperament, so I'm like, as long as I don't roll 2 or more ones, because I can't reroll ones within 2 inches of him with his equipment. And I roll a 2, a 3, and 2 ones.
Ah.
So he just goes first and parries me out. And if
Mm-hmm.
I would have killed that guy, um, it would have I would have lost 1 less goat, and I think I would have gone up another point on kill op, which would have given me another point, and then I would have won by I think I won 15-13.
Okay. Close
Um,
game.
and yeah, it could have been a little more favorable for me. And he did mess up on the 4th turn. He gave me a hatchway fight on my Gorehorn. He just put a guy too close to the door.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, well, all right, I guess I'll kill this dude. But it was a very good game. Very challenging matchup for Felgore. But I was happy that I was able to devise a scheme that worked out because I don't think I would have maxed out confirm kill, to be honest.
Okay. So, you go into day 2, round 2. What is the team that you're facing off in this one?
So once again, I got paired into JP and his Phobos.
Oh, geez.
Um,
Okay. The rematch.
and yeah, and we end up on Volcus again. And
So,
I know he's been devising a plan
mm-hmm.
to try and like beat Felgore.
So I know you mentioned this earlier. You said that Phobos is probably one of the weaker elite teams into Felgore. Why is that? Is it just because it's a bunch of guys with like souped up bolt guns, basically, or what is the weakness they have into Felgore?
So there's a couple things. So them being 12 wounds as opposed to other elites being 14 makes them way more easy to kill for Felgore.
Okay.
Like you can theoretically have a guy go in and if they don't roll crits on the other side to parry, like some of your dudes, like the Gnarl Scar with his brutal fist, he can just like get 3 hits and just kill a Phobos operative. Um, if they don't roll a crit on the swing back. So like there's upside to just kill them easier in melee than you would like an Angel of Death operative, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And also like one of the strengths of Phobos is they're very mobile and they can out threat range you a little bit. But Felgore with call the attack and +1 inch on their charge occasionally, it's really hard to like stay out of their threat ranges or
Okay.
to like space away from them
Mm-hmm.
and like create asymmetrical spots. So I think those are the big things. And their melee is like solid with the Reavers, but it's usually what's going to happen is they're going to go in if they really hard commit with the Reaver, they'll go in and they'll kill one Felgore,
Mm-hmm.
and then they'll die.
Yeah, they'll just get dogpiled by any of your other 10 Felgores or whatever
Yeah.
it is. Yeah.
So like, and it's really rare that they kill you and you don't hit them back at to some degree.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't have ways to guarantee crits in melee really outside of when they do the ploy once with a guy, and that's going to be better with the Reaver, and that's when they're fighting. So it's like if you're frenzied and you charge a Phobos and they don't roll crits, you're going to do like 8 to 10 damage and like maybe kill them. So it's just like it's hard for them to play against Felgore, I think. And he definitely had a different game plan this time around. So in the first game, he like stacked up one side. This time, he had a little bit more of a balanced approach. Um, and he actually dropped. So he had 2 Knife Reavers before, and he straight up replaced them with Carbine Reavers, which is interesting.
Interesting. Yeah.
And he had a Reaver Sergeant before, and he replaced the Reaver Sergeant with an Infiltrator Sergeant. And he dropped the Mine Layer. And it was like, okay, interesting. And he went very aggressive on turn 1 because I got a little sloppy and I gave him a shot on my Shaman, which is it's always my Shaman that dies on turn. If I ever like
Yeah.
mess up, it's
Yeah.
always the Shaman. Yeah.
Yeah. That's called
Um,
foreshadowing for you guys
yeah,
listening at
yeah.
home.
And so he rips a shot at my Shaman with his marksman and just kills him, which is not uncommon. Um, but in order to do so, he had to put himself in charge range of my Vandal, and my Vandal goes in and chips him down, and then next turn I'm able to kill his marksman with my Vandal. Um, And the Carbine Reavers, I think they ended up getting a little aggressive and just shooting at me. And um, I am trying to remember what exactly happened here, because I killed that guy. Oh, my Vox Break or his Vox Breaker gets charged by my Gnarl Scar,
Mm-hmm.
and um, he just like mauls him to death. Like I just got like
Okay.
I get like 3 or 4 hits with ambush, and he doesn't get a crit, and I just maul him and kill him. And I think his Vox already had a little bit of chip damage on him at some point. I can't remember from what. And then the turn after that, I am able to charge another guy with the Gnarl Scar, and the same thing happens, and he doesn't get a crit, and I get 3 hits on my Gnarl, and I just like punch a guy to death. Um, so yeah, the Gnarl Scar did a lot of work in this game. He just kept like charging and punching Phobos and just killing them. And on the right side, I was able to get a charge on to yeah, I think it might have been one of his Reavers. Um, and I kill that guy, and he had taken he dropped plant beacons this game, and he ended up taking surveillance, and he did quite well on it. I think he got 5 points on it because the
Okay.
second turn he scored the 1 point, and then I killed the guy. But the other turns he just runs the guy into the corner after doing surveillance, and it's like so far away.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I mean, the thing about surveillance though is that I think with an elite team, it's just such a high opportunity cost because you're just going to like have to effectively do nothing with one of your Marines
Yeah.
because you have to surveil and be on conceal, and you have to not die to get the second point. So you're encouraged to just like run up, surveil, and run away,
Mm-hmm.
which definitely made the attrition game a little easier on my side. Um, yeah, and I think I ended up coming away with like 18 points and taking the win. Just a very hard matchup. We kind of came out of it like not totally sure what Phobos are supposed to do there.
Okay.
I think Implant might have been interesting just because when he was killing me, he was getting a lot of excess hits that he could have used to implant. And
Oh,
Felgore,
okay.
you can actually kill Felgore, implant them, and get the point for them surviving
Yeah.
because of frenzy.
Right.
So yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like a good game plan. All right, so that was round number two, day two. What did you have slated up for round number three?
Yeah, so I go into the finals and I'm playing against Hearthkin Salvagers.
Mm-hmm.
And this is another matchup that Felgore are quite good into. Dylan's a very good player, and I see that we're on Into the Dark. And I'm really happy because it's a little bit harder for him to get the alpha, which is the jump pack warrior can just go like a million inches and just like hit you in your drop zone basically.
Right.
But with doors in the way, I'm able to like not get
Not
hit
really
right
have to
away.
worry about that. Yeah.
Yeah, but I do know he's going to guarantee go first on turn 2 because of his writ of claim equipment, which like pretty much just gives him initiative. It all but gives him initiative.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and yeah, so like we just sort of set up on turn 1. He opens like one of the doors and he puts his gunner on guard, his like long range gunner, and I like hear him say it like it doesn't.
Yeah.
He didn't say it quiet at it, and within 10 seconds I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna take a shot at your leader who's on conceal with my shaman. And I shoot him and I do like 1 damage. And he's like, I'm gonna guard you. And I'm like, oh my god. I'm like, I can't even be mad. I just had like I don't know if it was seventh round fatigue, and I just like my brain turned off. But I'm like, yeah. I'm like, all right, take the shot. And he just, of course, he murders my shaman. And I'm
Yep.
like, okay, well, I'm playing 9v10 now. That's cool. And then he runs his leader out into the middle objective. I comms buff my Toxhorn, move him up, throw the Tox Bomb, miss, and dash him back behind the heavy cover. And then he wins initiative on turn 2, because of course he does.
Mm-hmm.
Has a jump pack go out and frenzy my Mangler. And he throws a stun, but he misses,
Okay.
which is cool.
Yeah.
So I feel less bad about missing my Tox Bomb. Um, so um, right away, I think I take a charge onto his door facing the left side middle room, not near his jump pack, and with my Death Knell. because I had ran my Death Knell up onto the middle point. And the Death Knell charges 2 guys and kills his Plasma Beamer. Or no, his Grenadier. I just murder the Grenadier, I think. And then I've got his Lugger in engagement range, so he's going to have to fall back the Lugger instead of doing something useful. Um, I can't remember what he does next. Maybe he falls back with the Lugger, but then I move my Toxhorn out. I find a spot with a Toxhorn where I can stand on the middle objective. Oh, he goes in guard with the leader. That's what he does. And I move um, my Toxhorn up and throw a stun at the leader. But I managed to stay outside of 2 of them, and in a spot where I'm in cover from that big gunner sitting in his deployment zone. And this time the Toxhorn successfully makes the stun, and I think I do 3 damage. I bring him down to 5 wounds, which is important. And he ends up just putting his, I think he puts not the gunner, but a different guy out into that room and plants a beacon.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and we're kind of just jostling a little bit on the right side. I end up comms buffing somebody. I can't exactly remember who. Um, and my whip moves up onto the heavy barricade in the middle. And I think his plasma beamer. Oh no, I got it mixed up. My Death Knell earlier killed his plasma beamer, and then his grenade guy comes out and chucks a grenade at
Right.
my Toxhorn,
Yeah, I remember
and he
that.
ends up like, yeah, he kind of like whiffs on the Toxhorn.
Yep. Yeah.
Um, and I have my Flux Spray charge and just like kill the Grenadier. And I'm like, all right, so, but I position him in a way that I'm outside of 6 inches from his leader. So if he does the guard shot, it's going to be hitting on um, 4s with the plasma instead of 3s. And I'll be outside of the reroll thing. So it'll just be like 4 shots on 4. So he decides not to take the guard shot right away. He'll like hold it till later. Um, and I, we kind of just wait out. And on the right side, my Vandal charges and kills his jump pack warrior to get that guy out of the way. And he ends up doing a decent amount of damage back to my Vandal. Um, and then the next turn, he wins initiative again. I didn't win initiative once this game. He actually never even needed to use his Writ of Claim. He just was naturally winning initiative every turn.
Oh, jeez.
Um, and I'm like looking at the middle because the leader is this big problem because he has this Justice Scratch, 4 damage or more. And I'm like, okay. And I'm like thinking about it. And I look at the whip and I'm like, wait a minute, 2, 3 damage. And I ask him again, I'm like, the Justice Scratch is 4 damage or more? And he goes, yep. And the leader has 5 health. And I'm like, all right, I'm gonna charge with the herd goad. And I charge with the herd goad, and he realizes right away and he goes, oh shit. He goes, nice play, nice play. And I crit hit him. It's 2, 3 damage. I kill him. And then I use the Ruthless Rampage, the 3-inch charge after a kill, to charge back onto his guy with the guy that was sitting back there. I think it was his locator. And the nice thing about the herd goat is that if there's not another enemy in his control range, it costs an extra AP to fall back from him. So it would cost 3 AP for the locator to fall back, which means that he cannot fall back because the comms is on the opposite side of the board. So I've just taken out his leader. He never got to use his Justice Scratch.
Mm-hmm.
And I've like taken over that side of the board. And I'm picking up my beacons everywhere, my confirmed kills everywhere. I end up having my Gore Horn go over and like kill a guy. My Vandal ends up dying, but he does a little damage on the way out. I got a little sloppy because that guy, the locator that I charged with the whip. What I should have done is just have my my Flux Spray just charge and pass, but I had my Flux Spray charge and fight him
Mm-hmm.
and kill him, and then his next turn, his Rotary Cannon, when he wins initiative, can take shots at me and then like
Right.
zip away a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Probably would have been a bit better to leave him alive for just a little bit because he wasn't going to win any fights against me. He only has 2 attacks in melee because of the whip -1 attack aura. But at that point, I think Dylan and I both knew the game was kind of over and that I was gonna I was able to get the 6 points on crit up, I
Hmm.
believe, and I get 5 on tech op because I was only able to pick up one beacon on the last turn or one confirmed kill on the last turn. And on kill up, he actually had me beat out pretty bad. He had taken out 8 of my guys by the end of the game, and I killed like 7 of his.
Hmm.
So he got like 5 on kill up to my 3, but I think I got 6 crit up to his 3, and I got 5 confirmed kills to his 4, and his primary was tac op, and mine was crit op. So I got 3 primary, and he got 2 primary, and I end up winning, I think, 17-14 or something like that.
Hmm.
But it was, yeah, I felt very wrapped up by the last turn.
So Dylan's obviously a very good player. I know he's been playing Salvagers for a very long time. Were you surprised at all to see Salvagers make it to top table at this tournament?
I was because, Dylan's a good player, but the other teams in the top 8, including the teams he had to play against, I felt were really good and hard for Salvagers to overcome. So first he had barely squeaked out a win against Leander's Warp Coven, and Leander actually had played Dylan the day before and won. So he ends up winning against Warp Coven, which has got to be a tough matchup, and and then he plays Nemesis Claw, and I figure Nemesis Claw is really good into Hearthkin because they can Vox Scream the Alpha on top of turn 2.
Right. Yeah.
Um, and I guess that game ended up being another 1 point game, and Dylan was just like squeezing out wins, and he has a lot of reps on his team.
Yeah.
So I was I was a bit surprised to see Hearthkin go that deep. They're definitely what I think they're a really strong team, but they've got some weaknesses. They're kind of a skew where like some teams just can't deal with their alpha,
Hmm.
but other teams can. Like Felgore, it's really hard. You don't really get a good alpha on Felgore because normally they'll charge fight with the jump pack guy and get a kill and then toss a crack. But when you charge fight and kill a Felgore, they're frenzied, so he
Yeah. So
can't
you
fight
can't throw
twice.
that crack.
So what he's going to do with his turn 2 initiative is he's just going to kill one guy and then we're going to trade.
Yep.
Like he's going to lose a jump pack, and I'm going to lose whoever he decided to kill.
Okay. So even if this game was on Volcus, the alpha would not have mattered that much.
It would have affected the distance I was able to move up because on Volcus it's a little easier for him to theoretically hit me on turn 1.
Hmm.
Um, I probably would have been very uh, conservative with my placement on turn 1. Um,
Okay.
but yeah, because I don't mind sitting back with Felgore because I can always make up for it with Call the Attack on
Yeah.
turn 2. Um, but yeah, no, it definitely. I mean, Into the Dark helped a little, but I did miss out on a lot of Into the Dark when I wanted it earlier in the tournament. So I was happy to get it there in the last game, and then against Blaine as well.
Yeah, so that's the tail of the tape. Well, not really the tail of the tape. Those are the highlights. Overall, how do you feel about Felgore's right now? Do you think you're going to keep I know you said you felt like you haven't really reached like the peak with this team in terms of like the combos that you can pull off with them. So are you going to keep taking them to tournaments? Or are you going to switch off to something else for a little bit and then go back to them? Or do you think any of these new teams that at time of recording are going to be coming out on Saturday in that Blood and Zeal box, do you think any of those you're going to hop on for a little bit?
Yes, I mean I think that Felgore are very good. I think that unfortunately Blood and Zeal introduces a team that genuinely just beats them at their own game, and that's Goremongers. I
Okay.
think that matchup is really hard for Felgore. I think that overall, I actually think Felgore are the stronger team than Goremongers, but the head-to-head matchup, I think Goremongers are going to give them a really hard time. Um, and on beyond that, the Sanctifiers are going to be tough for everybody. I do think Felgore are maybe better positioned than most teams to do something about it. Um, so I'm excited to try that matchup out. I definitely feel like I said, there's more to be done with this team, and I would like to try them in the new meta. But there's a few other teams I'm eyeing that I think are also good that I haven't gotten the chance to really mess around with yet. I mean, that's one of the more
Hmm.
exciting things about Kill Team to me, where it's like when a new meta comes up, uh, is that process for me where like, okay, we have a new meta coming now because of Blood and Seal, and the best team now is going to be probably Sanctifiers. And so we know what the best team is. And now it's about my favorite thing is about figuring out what can take on the best team
Okay.
and has the least blind spots. And it gets extra fun when it's a team I haven't really gotten the chance to mess around with. Um, so I'm right now. I'm tentatively, and this could change. It tends to change every day. I'm looking at Plague Marines.
Okay.
Um, I
Okay.
think Plague Marines are, in theory, pretty good against both of the Blood and Zeal teams. I think they're quite good against Felgore. I think the
Hmm.
worst thing for Plague Marines is elves. I think elves are going to get chased out of the meta by Sanctifiers.
Okay.
So I want to try out Plague Marines, but if
All
that
right.
experiment doesn't work, maybe I'll go back to Felgore because I do love them.
So on paper, what is it about Plague Marines that make them such an attractive option in this upcoming meta?
So I think the whole thing with Sanctifiers, they've got that big they have like the alpha and stuff, but they have a lot of guys that hit on fours natively.
Hmm.
So if they're running into your contagion pile, they're going to be mostly hitting on fives, which even with ceaseless and like purity seals, that's
Yeah,
really
that,
hard.
yeah, yeah.
And they've got a Melta, but beyond the Melta, that is pretty much all that they have that is going to be good at killing Plague Marines. The Miraculous is decent as well, um, but the Miraculous they're also kind of good at killing her because once she dies, she comes back with one wound, and if Plague Marines kill her, she's getting poisoned probably. So she's going to come back with one wound, and then you activate her and she dies. So you
Right.
can kind of just ignore her.
The poison doesn't fall off, it stays on.
Yeah,
Okay.
and the Flamers are just like they're good. It's a lot of 3/3.
Hmm.
They do have 1/4/4 flamer, but the flamers are going to bounce off of. I've played the flamer stuff with novitiates and the plagues in the past, and it just isn't fun.
Okay.
Um, they have a lot of they can like chip damage into plague marines is not great because they have one of the better heals in the game,
Hmm.
and they're just so tanky. So you give them opportunities to save. They're really chonky. I think that goremongers too are going to struggle because you go in, they're a melee team, they're going to hit on fours. You're going to poison them, and they might be left on very little wounds, and they might just die before they get the chance to do anything if they're near you, and you got the vents on. So I don't know. I just think plague marines are like very well suited, and like I mentioned earlier, the biggest scary thing for plagues I think is some of the elf teams with the piercing two,
Hmm.
and those teams are just going to get dumpstered by sanctifiers and goremongers,
Okay.
more so sanctifiers. So like I see the natural predator leaving for plagues, and I see a not terrible matchup into the new stuff. So,
All right.
and I got to watch Ben play Plague Marines at Adepticon in doubles and GT. And it kind of like opened my eyes. I was like, this team's kind of cool, actually. And the play style sounds like it would fit me. Like, Ben described them as like a 2 hour long noogie.
Okay.
Um,
You're just like
it's,
you're just like slowly like constricting.
yeah, there's not any flash. There's no tricks,
Yeah.
but you're just like,
You're just consistently grinding down.
yeah,
All right. Well, I think that's super thematic for what Death Guard are supposed to be, so I'm very happy to hear that.
yeah, yeah. I'm excited to play them.
Well, all right, Shane, is there anything else you want to discuss or bring up before we close out here?
No, I mean, shout out to all my opponents. I had a really good time at Adepticon once again. Happy to be the Adepticon double champ.
Yep.
Gonna hang on to that one. I don't know what the next. I think the next tournament for me is going to be the Chimera GT in Ontario at
Mhm.
Chimera Gaming, which is a game store in Kitchener. Very cool game store. The GT is going to have like multiple golden tickets. I want to say at least one. I think two. And it's going to be a blast. Come through if you're in the Northeast. Regular shout outs to the patrons and the subscribers and everybody watching. Um, Thanks to everybody that cheered me on and congratulated me after the Adepticon win. I appreciate the kind words, and yeah, that's pretty much all I got.
All right, I've got one final question for you though, Shane.
Ooh,
Are you going to go for the Adepticon 3-peat?
the three-peat next year, of course, absolutely.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching and tuning in to this episode of the Command Point Podcast. If you're listening to us on any of the podcasting platforms that we upload to, Apple Podcasts or Spotify, make sure to head over to YouTube and subscribe to us there. That way you don't miss up on any of our more regular Kill Team content. Uh, Shane, of course, mentioned it. Thank you all to our Patreon supporters for helping us out there and keeping the channel going and supporting us. Lots of stuff going on in the world of Kill Team. Check out the Discord as well. Our Discord has a insane amount of people in it. It's ridiculous, but there's always room for one more.
Yes.
Yeah, lots
And
of Kill Team
also,
conversation going on
yeah,
over
on the
there.
Discord, yeah, on the Discord as well. Check out the if you're interested in Tabletop Simulator, check out the CPTS season, which I think is starting like when this comes out, registration might still be open. And go check out CPTS. I think around season 10. And the
Crazy.
new teams are going to be legal. So, if you want to play them new boys and girls, go play on TTS with people on the Command Point Discord.
All right. Thank you guys so much for watching and listening, and we'll see you all again soon. Bye bye.